Next up, a political battle much closer to home, where the debate over how to cut down on violent crimes in the city has come to the forefront of Boston's mayoral race. The issue has come up before, and after a rash of shootings this month, it's back again. Most recently, a Mission Hill store owner was shot and killed in a robbery. Since January, there have been 21 fatal shootings in Boston, up from 15 last year. Non-fatal shootings are up as well, with 123 happening this year alone. And Boston City Councilor Tito Jackson says our current mayor, Marty Walsh, is not doing enough about it. Tito Jackson, who's vying to take Walsh's seat as mayor, joins me now. Councilor, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You are part of a meeting tonight at Freedom House that is going to be addressing the issue of violent crime in the city. What's on the agenda for this meeting, and who else is going to be taking part?
Yeah, so it's sponsored by an organization called Violence in Boston that does updates on violence that occurs in Boston. And the objective is to provide actual solutions because this administration went into the summer without an actual violence prevention plan. This administration went into the summer with 5,000 young people not having summer jobs, having no comprehensive plan. We have a 30% increase in shootings in the city of Boston, and that's absolutely unacceptable. And we know that the people who are closest to the problem are most likely to have the solutions. So that's why I will be at this meeting tonight.
I'd asked you who was going to be there, and this might be another way of asking that same question. You have said that Mayor Walsh, when it comes to violence in Boston, is not listening to the right people.
Yeah.
Who is he not listening to that he should be?
Well, I don't have meetings with a chosen group of individuals. This is open to the community and open to the whole city of Boston.
Okay.
Anyone who wants to come and have their voice heard will be able to be at the table. And that's actually my leadership style. And as mayor of the city of Boston, it will be my leadership style to open the doors of meetings as well as the doors of City Hall to have everybody that we need at the table to solve these issues.
Are you
drawing
a contrast there with the meeting that the mayor had, a closed-door meeting a couple weeks back after another uptick in violence?
Yes, and so what we need to hear from families, and in particular families who've lost someone. We need to hear from community members, and we also need to hear from the individuals who are actually doing this work on a day-to-day on the streets. We have a police budget that is $381 million with a $60 million overtime line item, and we're seeing this surge. We need to make sure that we're being thoughtful about where we're putting our money.
And just so I'm absolutely clear about this, who is Marty Walsh not listening to that he should be? Is it types of people, for example, people who've been victims? Is it individuals who are leaders in the community who don't have his ear? Give me one example for you.
Well, I would say this. He has not had or hosted a town hall meeting such as the one, or even an open meeting that we're having here.
Okay.
The objective has to be, when we're dealing with issues of violence, that we deal with solutions. I want to point out some of the work that College Bound Dorchester is doing, and that would be something that I would adopt in my administration. They have a program called Boston Uncornered. They are engaging young men who are part of
the cycle of violence.
Yes. And they are actually have engaged them. They are helping them go to school, and actually they are working with them with a stipend. 85% of the young men have not reoffended, and we need to be thoughtful about transformative programs such as the one that College Bound Dorchester is working on.
One more crime question for you. The city, as you know, is good compared to other cities of similar size on some crime stats over the past several years. I'm not trying to diminish individual tragedies or aggregate tragedies, but there are some metrics by which Boston's doing pretty well. We are not doing well when it comes to non-fatal shootings and the arrests that follow non-fatal shootings. David Bernstein, who works with us here at WGBH, has pointed out that less than 4% of non-fatal shootings result in arrests, a really, really low number. How would you get that up if you were mayor?
Well, a couple pieces. One, we would actually focus on that number, because I want to thank David Bernstein for bringing it up. It's not a number that the police department and others have brought up in the past. A couple pieces that I would do. We know that the detectives are actually on call after 12 a.m. And so I would actually have a 11 to 7 shift for our detectives. I would redeploy the bike squad out to neighborhoods and communities where there's 2 officers and what we would refer to as hotspots in the city of Boston. And then also we would actually work to give a more comprehensive approach to engaging the young men and the families that we know. About 300 of them need to be engaged. Those are the individuals who are actually pushing forward about 80% of the crime, the violent crime in the city of Boston. So we would actually take a more comprehensive approach in that space. In addition to having more transparency when it comes to body cams, as well as a comprehensive approach to resolving issues that community members have with the police department. And we've seen other cities put forward some more comprehensive
to foster
approaches.
more trust there.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to do my best Jim Browdy impression because we've got a lot to get through in about 3 minutes to do it. Affordable housing. Mayor Walsh has said he's working very hard to build more in the city. He was actually speaking at a rally on this topic earlier. Let's take a quick look.
Cool.
The city of Boston has put in $100 million into affordable housing. Nearly 9,000 affordable housing units have been built or under construction right now. And we still feel the pain. And we still feel the pressure. We've set records for the last 3 years. But there's still too many people and too many families that are struggling.
Tito Jackson, that all sounds pretty good, except for the families still struggling part. What is Marty Walsh not doing when it comes to affordable housing that he should be doing?
Yeah, so first, Marty Walsh and his administration closed the Long Island Bridge and actually cut off access for hundreds of homeless people in the city of Boston. And what we see is a more complicated environment around the 93 area. So first off, with homelessness, that becomes a huge issue. In addition, he also has not been as aggressive in terms of including the inclusionary development policy. In Cambridge, you're required to build 20% if you're going to build over 10 units. 87% of the housing in Boston is being built for the top 25%.
And
in my administration, that will change.
You pointed out, I know, that half the individuals in Boston earn less than $35,000 a year. How are you going to make it possible for them to be able to afford a place? Because if I do the math right, to be affordable, say if a family of two making $60,000, their monthly rent needs to be something like $1,700 to be affordable. Is that something that you could make happen?
Well, I think it's something that we can affect. So first, we actually have to address something that the Walsh administration is not addressing. I don't know where rent is going down, and I haven't spoken to anyone.
So you don't buy that claim that it's being
well, I don't buy. I buy that there's 40 people who come into my office every day. Every week, who actually are losing housing or having housing issues. People in Boston are being pushed out faster than they've ever been pushed out. In addition, I would actually put forward city-backed vouchers. For $5 million, we can actually create 400 vouchers to take care of families who are in the city of Boston. This needs to be looked at as a crisis, and housing in the city of Boston and gentrification and displacement is an absolute crisis.
Do we do vouchers right now? Any vouchers?
We don't do vouchers right now.
Where would the money come from?
The money would come from the $144 million in net new revenue. The money would come from the money that we give to General Electric. The money would come from the money that we would put towards the Olympics or IndyCar. If we have money for big ticket items like that, we have to have money for people who live in the city of Boston, who've worked hard and who've contributed to the city.
I'm sorry to end on a downbeat note, but it's the question that we've come to. You on Herald Radio recently called this one of the most competitive races in the country. You said that Mayor Walsh can barely break 50% in the polls. But in the poll I think you were talking about, a Globe Suffolk University poll done a month ago, you are losing to him, if the election were held on the days that poll was taken, 54% to 23%, margin of more than 30 points. Mayor Walsh has a favorability rating of 61%, a job approval rating of 65%. How can you class that, as, with all due respect, as a competitive race, let alone one of the most competitive in the country?
Well, I knock on doors on a regular basis, and what I'm seeing is families really connecting with us, knowing that I'm pushing forward for a Boston for all, a city of Boston that uplifts everybody and it does not leave families and communities behind. A city where we actually invest in our public schools. This year, Mayor Walsh's administration puts forward a budget that is going to cut 49 schools by $11 million. He has left our young people behind, left our families behind, and as mayor of the city of Boston, I will fully fund the Boston public schools. And relative to this question, I would just simply say what we're hearing on the ground and the pollsters and the pundits,
the numbers
it absolutely doesn't match it. And the thing is, we must note, again, you have $5 million. You're a little bit over 50%, and if it was only based on money, then that would be it.
As we know.
On that day, It's going to be based on what voters decide, and I look forward to becoming the next mayor of the city of Boston.
Councilor Tito Jackson, always good to talk to you. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much. September 26th.